We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
The Commission on Elections deferred the proclamation of the elected 12 senators and party-list groups.
Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said the genocidal taunts of U.S. President Donald Trump will not end Iran as tensions spike between the two countries.
Huawei founder Ren Zhengfei struck a defiant tone against U.S. attempts to block his company's global ambitions, saying the U.S. underestimates the telecom giant's strength.
And Sebsi Films, Kapyapan sa gitna ng digmaan, Peace in the Midst of War, bagged 3 awards at the recently concluded 2019 European Film Festival held in Italy.
Maging katipan mo yung biyutong Hapones na yan.
Amalma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world, thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. First to the Philippines, the Commission on Elections on Tuesday deferred the proclamation of the elected 12 senators and party-list groups. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez in a press briefing said that transmission results from Washington, D.C. in the United States has yet to arrive in the country.
Well, hindi pa kasi dumarating yung returns from LA. So I think it's the returns from LA that we have to look at, no? Sa ngayon, again, we're trying to get information from Washington, D.C. and we can't get in touch with them. So that's why we're seeing this delay. As soon as this becomes clearer to us, we will share that information with you.
Manila's time zone is ahead by 12 hours than Washington. As of Monday, a week after the May 13 midterm polls, the COMELEC sitting as the National Board of Canvassers has tallied 166 out of the 167 certificates of canvass or COCs. Also, the poll body said that it is looking to proclaim new party list representatives on Wednesday evening.
Our Hawaii correspondent Alfredo Cenas visited the Philippine Consulate General in Honolulu to know more about the outcome of the Philippine midterm elections in his part of the world. Here now is his report.
Well, since midterm election po ito, yung turnout natin na hindi kasing taas kumpara sa presidential election. But we still did well for Honolulu, which has under its jurisdiction around 12,800 registered voters. We had a turnout of a little over 17%. So mahigit na 2,100 yun.
Votes may have been cast and counted and the winners announced. But the Philippine midterm elections, as far as the government is concerned, is far from over. As various agencies and offices, such as the Philippine Consulate General here in Honolulu, are now faced with the daunting task of reviewing procedures, drawing lessons learned, with the hopes of improving their services in the next election season.
Mga opisyal po natin, we did media interviews to inform our kababayans about the election, the 2019 election, and remind them of what they need to do for our registered voters. And also dun sa mga website natin at sa websites ng ibang foreign service posts, andun din naman po lahat ng impormasyon na kailangan malaman ng ating mga registered voters.
Deputy Consul General Escalona acknowledged the various challenges in reaching out to voters dispersed throughout the Hawaiian Islands and as far away as American Samoa.
Nako, dahil malayo sila at ang flight sa American Samoa, it's only once a week, yun ang medyo challenging, we tried to send out the ballots as soon as we could, but unfortunately, we got our ballots from COMELEC rather late towards the end of March. So medyo huli rin ang pagpapadala natin sa ating mga registered voters. At marami rin pala tayong yung return to sender na mga balota, yung pinadala namin. According to the US Postal Service, either wrong address, no such number, or vacant. Kaya pinost po namin itong mga pangalan ng mga voters na ito, but unfortunately, we got few response informing us of the correct or new addresses.
She also highlighted some suggestions from voters and even colleagues from the embassy in Washington, D.C. and other consulates.
Meron po tayong mga receive na suggestions. For example, dahil postal voting tayo dito sa Honolulu, some were saying that the return envelope should already be stamped so that they don't need to put stamps any longer. In fact, marami tayong mail na kulang ang stamps. Kaya medyo nagtagal sa post office. Kinuha pa namin doon at binayaran na rin namin. Pero ang suggestion po ng iba, gawin na lang self-addressed return envelopes na may stamps na. Yes, among our colleagues, we were saying that we hope that next election, padala sa amin ng mas maaga ang mga balota at election paraphernalia. We also hope that we'll avoid yung pag-register na ang sinusulat ng mga address doon ay care of the Philippine Embassy or Philippine Consulate. Kasi marami rin po ito. I think we have more than 1,500 for Honolulu out of the 12,800 na care of the Philippine Consulate. So, konti rin po yung nagsabi sa amin kung ano yung kanilang address.
Ms. Escalona described the way forward in improving the overseas voting process, indicating a need for closer coordination and planning with the Commission on Elections, as well as allocating more time for voters to register and make an informed decision when casting their ballots.
Well, ang ginagawa po namin ngayon, our post and other posts in the US, we're consolidating our assessment of the 2019 overseas voting so that we will have recommendations for the next election. So ginagawa po namin yan, and hopefully, as I said, we begin the preparations earlier from the training of our personnel who are deputized by COMELEC to do the election functions, to the sending of ballots and paraphernalia. We would like to work with COMELEC on this, on how to further improve the process so that we'll have more time, because as you know, we all also have our regular functions here at the consulates.
Finally, the Deputy Consul General offered assurance to fellow citizens in Hawaii and American Samoa while making a personal request in preparation for the next election.
Yes, I would just like to assure our kababayans, especially our kababayans in Hawaii and American Samoa, that we did our very best to ensure that we sent out the ballots to you within the election period, and also that for the next round of elections, from the registration period until the actual election, please check our website and our social media accounts, because that is where we put all the important information from the list of registered voters to those whose mails were returned and those who need to inform us of their address because they listed the consulate as their address.
Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Alfred Asenas, 1 with 25.
Thank you, Alfred. The Senate on Monday approved on third and final reading a bill seeking to strengthen the country's space program with the creation of a Philippine Space Agency. With 18 affirmative votes and no negative votes, the Senate passed Bill 1983, otherwise known as an act establishing the Philippine Space Development and Utilization Policy and creating the Philippine Space Agency. Senator Benigno Aquino IV, author and sponsor of the measure, said the launch of a space program in the Philippines would give Filipinos a new perspective and valuable insights that could help solve some of the country's biggest problems. He said satellites can improve disaster management from providing accurate information that allow early warnings and predicting of disasters to reliable and quick communication during relief and recovery operations. He also said space technology could also enhance production and profitability of agribusinesses due to soil and weather monitoring and assessment. It could help conserve and preserve the environment, improve urban planning, transportation, and communication networks. If enacted into law, the Philippine Space Development and Utilization Policy, as stated in the bill, would serve as the Philippine strategic roadmap for space development.
Former Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales has been held by immigration authorities at a Hong Kong airport. Reports quoting Morales' lawyer, Annie Marie Coromina, said Morales was not allowed inside the Special Administrative Region of China for a family vacation after being considered a security threat. Morales was one of two who filed a complaint before the International Criminal Court against China President Xi Jinping. Apart from Morales, former Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario acted as a complainant in the complaint lodged over China's alleged construction of artificial islands in the disputed South China Sea. Morales was scheduled to be deported on Tuesday evening.
Therefrom, shall revert to the unappropriated service.
To other news now, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said the genocidal taunts of U.S. President Trump will not end Iran as tensions spike between the two countries. Now, Iranians have stood tall for millennia while aggressors all gone. Economic terrorism and genocidal taunts won't end Iran, Zarif wrote on Twitter. Never threaten an Iranian, try respect. It works, he added. Writing on Twitter on Monday, Iran's foreign minister said the U.S. president was being goaded by what he called the B team, a reference to U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Last week, 4 oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman were damaged in what the U.S. or what the United Arab Emirates said were sabotage attacks and drone attacks on 2 oil pumping stations in Saudi Arabia by Yemen's Houthi rebels, who are supported by Iran, forced the temporary closure of a pipeline. Iran has denied that it was behind the 2 incidents. Relations between Washington and Tehran plummeted a year ago when Trump pulled out of a landmark 2015 nuclear deal with Iran and imposed tough sanctions. Iranian officials have repeatedly slammed the unilateral U.S. sanctions as economic terrorism, saying that they have impeded the flow of essential goods.
The repost by Iran's top diplomat followed an ominous warning by Trump, who on Sunday suggested the Islamic Republic would be destroyed if it attacked U.S. interests. On Monday evening, though, Trump, who is seen blowing hot and cold on Iran, appeared to play down the immediate threat posed by Iran while saying he is ready to talk if Tehran takes the first step.
So with Iran, we'll see what happens, but they've been very hostile. They've truly been the #1 provocateur of terror in this country, and representing their country, but certainly our country has been very much involved because we're trying to help a lot of people out, and I don't mind that at all. We have no indication that anything's happened or will happen, but if it does, it will be met, obviously, with great force. We'll have no choice. We've not talked about it. We'll see what happens. If they called, we would certainly negotiate, but that's going to be up to them. I'd only want them to call if they're ready. If they're not ready, they don't have to bother. Well, we'll see what happens, but right now we have very strong sanctions. We'll see what happens.
Trump has recently heightened U.S. tensions with Tehran, dispatching an aircraft carrier, bombers, and other forces to the Persian Gulf region in response to unspecified threats while regularly issuing his own. Earlier this month, the U.S. withdrew waivers that allowed countries, including India and China, to purchase Iranian oil despite sanctions as the Trump administration tries to ratchet up economic pressure on Iran's government.
To other news now, monster severe storm struck the central United States again. Twisters have formed in areas of Texas and Oklahoma. that are currently under the most dire tornado warning forecasters have issued in the past 2 years. The National Weather Service confirmed at least 2 large and extremely dangerous tornadoes Monday evening, one in Greer County, Oklahoma, and another in Dickens County, Texas. The National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center, or SPC, issued a high risk for portions of Oklahoma and Texas, the first time a high risk warning has been issued by the agency since May 2017. The severe outbreak was the highest tornado risk since April 14, 2012. Storms on Monday produced golf ball-sized hail and strong wind gusts across the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma. Monday's severe weather danger came on the heels of a severe weather outbreak that struck the region late last week through the weekend. At least 50 tornado reports came in across the central and southern plains, and the threat will continue with many areas at risk again Tuesday U.S. time. The primary concern area into the late Monday night hours were central Oklahoma, the Oklahoma City metro area, southwest through Lawton, Oklahoma, and Wichita Falls, Texas, to the area between Abilene and Midland, Texas. Much of that area is also at high risk to see flooding, particularly from central Oklahoma to southeast Kansas and much of west central and southwestern Missouri.
Heavy security measures were rolled out across Jakarta on Tuesday as unexpectedly early election results in Indonesia show Joko Widodo was a re-elected leader of the world's third biggest democracy. Here's more.
A damning new report from Human Rights Watch says the UK government is violating its obligations to ensure families have enough food to live on. Take a look. Monday's report said austerity-motivated cuts to the country's welfare system since the Conservative Party took power in 2010 have left thousands of families with children without adequate food. As a result, families have become reliant on aid organizations. Meanwhile, the leader of Britain's main opposition party ridiculed Theresa May's embattled government over revelations that it had set up an emergency food bank for the cleaners in one of its ministries. The Sunday Times discovered that the assistance program was hurriedly but quietly established to help mitigate a payroll blunder involving a services contractor that began in March. The newspaper published an email sent to one government business department staff saying that some cleaners were unable to travel to work as they have no money for bus fares. Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn seized on the story during May's weekly question and answer session in the Parliament. Take a look.
The new norm in this country. And while wages remain lower than a decade ago and housing costs have soared, more and more food banks are opening up in Britain. In Great Yarmouth, one has just been opened for pupils at a school. And last week, the Department of Business established a food bank for its own staff in the building there on Victoria Street. Can the Prime Minister tell us what is going wrong in modern Britain that a government office in the centre of London has a food bank for some of its very low-paid staff to get something to eat?
To the right honourable gentleman, as he knows, I think that the best way to ensure that people have a good income and a stable income for their families is to ensure that they're in work. And this is the fourth question he's asked me. The fourth question question he's asked me, and in none of his questions so far has he welcomed the fact that employment is at record levels and unemployment is down at a record low. And the way the right honourable gentleman talks, you would think that inequality started in 2010. But who was it who said, oh, one of the Labour backbenchers shouts from a sedentary position? It did. Who was it who said of the last Labour government, they ensured that the gap between the richest and the poorest in our society became very much bigger? Not my words, the words of the right honourable gentleman attacking his own Labour government.
Mr. Speaker, my question was about...
The lowly milkshake has turned into an unlikely weapon of choice for Britons determined to make a splashy statement against the rise of the Brexit-backing populist right. Former UK Independence Party leader Nigel Farage became the latest political figure Monday to be doused with a sticky concoction while campaigning for his new Brexit party in this week's European Parliament election. Images shared on social media showed a grim-faced Farage, his black suit covered from shoulder to toe, being led away by a bodyguard during a campaign stop in the northern city of Newcastle. The suspected culprit told the Press Association it was a 5.25 pounds of banana and salted caramel shake he brought at the local Five Guys hamburger chain store. First-time offenders in such cases usually pay a small fine. In a tweet, Farage blamed the incident on EU supporters who have become radicalized to the extent that normal campaigning is becoming impossible. Farage's Brexit party is leading the polls on its promise to get Britain out quickly and by any means.
And the news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visited Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated have already been treated and cured.
Marami po ospital na napuntahan, pero
Huawei founder Ren Zhengfei struck a defiant tone on Tuesday against U.S. attempts to block his company's global ambitions. He said the U.S. underestimates the telecom giant's strength. He said Huawei's 5G will absolutely not be affected. In terms of 5G technologies, others won't be able to catch up with Huawei in 2 or 3 years. Last week, Trump declared a national emergency, empowering him to blacklist companies seen as an unacceptable risk to the national security of the U.S., a move analysts said was clearly aimed at Huawei. At the same time, the U.S. Commerce Department announced an effective ban on American companies selling or transferring U.S. technology to Huawei. U.S. internet giant Google, whose Android mobile operating system powers most of the world's smartphones, said this week it was beginning to cut ties with Huawei in light of the ban. But the Commerce Department on Monday issued a 90-day reprieve on the ban on the transfer of technology by allowing temporary licenses. Huawei also has sought to ease customers' concerns over the Google announcement. Now, Ren, the owner, said Huawei and Google are discussing how to respond to the ban, calling the U.S. firm a highly responsible company. But analyst Patrick Moorhead of Moore Insight Strategy said if the ban continues, Huawei will be damaged for sure, particularly in smartphones, but also in the data center and networking markets.
Meanwhile, Londoners reacted to the announcement that U.S. internet giant Google, whose Android mobile operating system powers most of the world's smartphones, said it was beginning to cut ties with China's Huawei.
I know there were some stories going around about the 5G stuff, and I know the British government had said stuff that they weren't overly concerned about it. It didn't put me off, obviously, buying one. But obviously, if there's news come out today about it, then it might be something I might have to look into.
I was planning to buy the P30 Pro. Today's news made me hesitated. Don't know what's going to happen to Huawei. And, well, mainly still want to use the Google service because currently I'm using Android as well. Yeah, if they remove, like, say, Google Maps and Google Play, stuff like that, it will be almost useless.
At home and in the workplace, we need to have these applications just on a day-to-day basis. Communication is very strong at the moment. And I think in order for us to work quickly and efficiently, we need these apps. They're not just for entertainment, they are for business.
Huawei is the target of an intense campaign by Washington, which has been trying to persuade allies not to allow China a role in building next-generation 5G mobile networks. Super-fast networking 5G, the fifth-generation successor to today's decade-old 4G technology, which is struggling to keep pace with global broadband demand, promises radically quicker transfers of data. U.S. government agencies are already banned from buying equipment from Huawei.
Meanwhile, major telecommunication firms in the country, in the Philippines, assured Huawei smartphone users of continuing communication services despite efforts by the U.S. government to ban the products of the Chinese-based technology provider in countries worldwide due to cybersecurity concerns. In a statement on Monday, PLDT said its subscribers that have availed Huawei handsets and devices will continue to function normally on its network. PLDT and Smart will coordinate with Huawei in addressing concerns regarding future firmware and software updates for phones, pocket Wi-Fi units, and other devices. Meanwhile, Globe Telecom assured its customers that the current situation at Huawei will not impact its network services. Both telcos said they will continue to provide updates on the issue, particularly on its impact on their services. PLDT and Globe had partnered with Huawei Technologies for the rollout of its fifth generation or 5G mobile services in the country this year. Media reports stated that Google barred Huawei from accessing updates to its Android operating system, resulting in new designs of Huawei smartphones losing access to some Google apps. Existing Huawei users, however, will still be able to update apps and push through security fixes, as well as update Google Play services.
Here's a video explaining fifth generation mobile or 5G wireless technology.
5G or fifth generation mobile network technology represents a technological revolution and is likely to have a significant impact on our lifestyles, propelling us into the era of connected objects. While 4G is based on the use of longer airwaves, 5G uses millimeter waves, super high frequencies in theory capable of multiplying the speed by 20. The result, no more buffering while watching a video, as downloading a gigaoctet file will take just a few seconds, as against several minutes with 4G. The great promise of 5G is the virtual disappearance of latency. That's the delay between the sending and receiving of information. This will make possible the development of e-health, smart cities, in many fields, refuse collection for example, the increased use of autonomous and connected vehicles, and the digitization of factories. 5G will result in an explosion in data generation, and so data security will be a hot topic, especially as the architecture of the 5G network is more difficult to protect than its predecessor. Millimeter waves are short, they have limited range and penetration. The network will require very many transmitters that will target each user thanks to special cells which can track his or her every move. To experience 5G, routers or a 5G-compatible smartphone will be required.
In other business news, the OECD cut its forecast for the world economy, urging governments to resolve their trade disputes as the latest flare-up in the China-US trade war threatens to crimp global growth. Let's listen in.
It's certainly possible to see the glass half full. Unemployment and inflation are low. Global GDP growth, although it's lower than in the last couple of years, is projected to be 3.2% in 2019, and it will edge to 3.4% in 2020. But our message is strong and is simple. Let's avoid complacency at all costs. It's certainly possible.
Nevertheless, a source said the projections did incorporate the increased uncertainty generated by trade tensions, as both Washington and Beijing slap trade tariffs on more and more of each other's goods. President Trump has barred U.S. companies from engaging in telecommunications trade with foreign companies, said to threaten American national security.
We'll be back with more news when Eagle News International returns.
Health is a
extinguishing some species forever. It's a warning that the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization or FAO is highlighting on World Bee Day, which is celebrated on the 20th of May. Here's FAO Agriculture Officer Abram Bixler.
The decline and disappearance of bees and wild insects would have drastic consequences on global ecosystems and human well-being. Therefore, urgent and wide-ranging efforts are needed to protect bees across wild, agriculture, and urban habitats. The Climate Action Summit being convened by the Secretary-General in September will aim to address the threat and spur greater ambition in general.
Bees support a staggering 170,000 species of plants that sustain over 200,000 animal species. They are responsible for roughly a third of all food produced. They make nutritious food, notably honey and royal jelly, of course, which are also used in medicines, both modern and traditional. And in doing all of this, they support millions of jobs, farms, businesses, and communities around the world. Whether you're talking about eradicating poverty, tackling hunger, protecting biodiversity, or boosting rural livelihoods, these tiny creatures play an outsized role in our efforts to achieve the 2030 Agenda.
The United Nations Postal Administration celebrated World Bee Day by issuing 3 stamped mini sheets showcasing bees and flowers. Without bees and other pollinators, FAO says that we wouldn't have coffee, apples, almonds, tomatoes, and cocoa, among many other crops. It recommends reducing the use of pesticides in farming and in the garden, planting a variety of bee-friendly flowers, and letting policymakers know that you think the issue is important.
In other news, Iglesia Ni Cristo members in Japan organized a cleanup drive in Tokyo. Here's Dennis Liu.
They are known for their diverse activities and projects promoting social and cultural awareness, public service, and aid for humanity worldwide. Japan is also not an exemption.
As Japan enjoys the week-long holiday, the Iglesia Ni Cristo took such opportunity to extend a helping hand in keeping the community clean and green, as members of the church organized a cleanup drive in Hibiya Park.
Ganito pong aktibidad ng Iglesia Ni Cristo na pinagtibay ng pamamahala. Pauuna po ng ating tagapamahalang pangkalahatan, ng kapatid na Eduardo Bumanato, ay naglalayon na may pakita sa mga tao, lalo na po dito sa bansang Japan, na ang Iglesia Ni Cristo ay patuloy na kaisa sa pagpapanatili ng kagandahan, ng kalinisan, ng kapaligiran, na ito po ay nagbubunga ng maayos na paninirahan sa isang bansa o sa isang komunidad.
Kaisa po kami sa pangangalaga at pananatili para mamintina ang kalinisan at kapayapaan at kaayusan ng kapaligiran natin. Kaya ipinapakita po, lalo na po ng mga kaanib sa Iglesia Ni Cristo, ang pagmamahal natin sa environment.
Despite their daily schedules, members of the church eagerly participated in the event, expressing their unity with the congregation and obedience to their leaders.
Nandito po ako ngayon kahit na busy po ang ating schedule dahil po sa pagkakaisa po sa ating tagapamahala ng pangkalahatan.
Yung mga kapatid nagkipagkaisa sa pananawagan ng tagapamahala na pagpagaan ng ating paligid at nakikita din ang mga kapatid na maigting din silang datingan upang isa sa tagubilin ng pamamahala.
Kami sa aktibidad ng iglesia ngayon sa cleanup drive dito po sa Hibiya Park. Isang famous park dito sa Japan para po makipagkaisa sa pananatili sa pagiging malinis dito sa bansang Japan at pagkikipagkaisa din po sa gawain at aktibidad ng pamamahala ng Inusan po ng iglesia po. Kaysa po kaming mga taga-lokal ng Miyashiro, kaysa po kami ng pamamahala sa ganito mga aktibidad.
Aside from obediently heeding the call of the church administrations, INC members also cherish the time as an opportunity to bond with family and friends, as well as strengthen the relationships with brethren.
Sa ganitong kaparaanan ay lalo na paglalapit-lapit din ang damdamin ng mga kapatid sa loob na Iglesia ni Cristo. Kaya po na inyo nakikita, sama-sama at masigla ang mga kapatid. Ang totoo ay nariyan ang mga magulang, kasama po ang mga anak na bahagi na rin ng kanilang family bonding.
Kasama ko po ang aking pamilya.
Bonding time na rin po. Isa-isa.
Lahat na rin po para mapag-banding-banding po kami. Di ba po mga kapatid? Opo!
Happy birthday to you!
Wait po!
We are one with 25! One with 25! One with 25!
Reporting from Hibiya Park here in Tokyo, Japan, this is Dennis Liu for Eagle News International, and I am one with 25.
Donating blood is not only beneficial for those who are in need, but also for one's own health. Moved by love and concern for their fellow men, Iglesia ni Cristo members in South Korea donated blood at a blood donation center in Yeongdong, Seoul. Kristen Jewel Uy Yabut reports.
Members of the Iglesia ni Cristo held blood donation activity in South Korea. The blood donation drive was done last Saturday, 18th of May, in the Blood Donation Center in Myeongdong, Seoul. This activity was done yearly by the Iglesia ni Cristo members here in South Korea. According to their district minister, this activity aims to help not only their countrymen, but also ready to reach out in the people of South Korea. Iglesia ni Cristo members who donated believe that more than the good benefits for their health, the more important thing is to reach out to others and help save lives. This is already the third time that the Iglesia ni Cristo held blood donation activity in South Korea. Donors will have to pass the initial screening first before they can donate blood. Among the eligibilities are people who have lived in Korea for more than 1 year, excluding the period for traveling overseas, and if a donor has over 90 days of accumulated traveling history outside Korea within a year, the donor is eligible to donate blood after 1 year from the date of last re-entry to the Republic of Korea. A donor cannot give blood if the donor has traveled overseas within 1 month. People who speak Korean or have an interpreter can donate blood. For more inquiries, you can call 033-811-0072 for Korean or 033-811-0087 for English. You can also send an email to bloodinternational@redcross.or.kr.
Totoo ay ang blood donation na ito ay pagkamat ang marami mga kaanib po sa loob ng iglesia, pero ang mas lalong marami na makikinabang nito ay ang mga Koreano na nangangailangan po ng dugo. Ang Iglesia ni Cristo po ay lagi na nagsasagawa ng ganitong blood donation activity na kung saan ay nilalahukan po ng maraming mga kapatid upang tugunan po ang panawagan ng ating pong tagapamahalang pangkalahatan na patuloy pong magpaabot ng tulong sa mga nangangailangan. At dito po sa bansang South Korea, ang isa sa maitutulong po ng Iglesia sa komunidad po ng bansang ito ay ang patuloy po na pakikilahok ng mga kapatid sa ganitong aktibidad na blood donation po.
This is Christine Jewel Uyabut, your EBC correspondent from South Korea, and I am one with 25.
Thank you, Christine. Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Health is our
Sebsi film Kapayapaan sa Gitna ng Digmaan bagged 3 major awards at the recent European Philippine International Film Festival held in Florence, Italy. Take a look. Directed by Nestor Malgapo, the film received Best Actor awards for Richard Kwan. The Best Actress went to the film's Chelina Talavera, who played the role of Felicidad Muto. Last but not least, the Best Production Design Award led by Jimmy Tablizo, Edwin Cruz, and Francis Sanders Santos. Now, the crew thanked everyone involved in the project. Take a look.
Kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa European Philippine International Film Festival. Ito po ay isang festival na nag-open up sa mga Filipino filmmakers at Filipino film na ipalabas sa buong mundo ang produkto ng Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
Nagpapasalamat din po kami sa mga kababayan nating Pilipino at iba't ibang lahi pa na tumangkilik po sa ating pelikula, Ang Kapayapaan sa Gitna ng Digmaan. Maraming salamat po sa pagsuporta po ng aming pelikula. At higit sa lahat, ipinagpapasalamat po natin sa ating Panginoong Diyos na minsan pa biniyayaan tayo ng parangal, 3 major awards sa ating pelikula.
Entry from Sebsi Films is a true-to-life story of civilian Japanese officer Yoshiyako Moto, played by multi-awarded actor Richard Kwan, who fell in love and married a Filipina, played by Felicidad, or named Felicidad, played by commercial model and actress Chelina Talavera before the war. Their love was tested by the cruelty of war, by racial difference, by one's patriotism to the country, but with the help of their faith in God as Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ members, they endured all these trials even when the war broke out.
Binakalat! Kaya tayo! Ate mo daw! Mabuhay! Mabuhay ang Pilipinas! Mabuhay! Tulungan niyo po ako! Kaya pa po kayo, bahagian ng ating ginagawa mga pagdating. Maawa ka. Ito ang kalooban na mangyari sa amin. Mangyari ang iyong kalooban. Kahit ano pang pagkukubli mo, hindi ka Pilipino. Isa kang Hapon. Isa kang kaaway.
May nililihim ka ba sa akin, Yoshiyaki?
Kailangan mong maunawaan. Nasa panahon tayo ng
Ang
digmaan.
mahalaga ay ang buo tayong pamilya. Sa kabila ng digmaang ito, Yoshiyaki.
Nakita ko kung paano lang ipinaglaban ng kanilang pananampalataya, kung paano hindi nila isinuko ang pagsamba sa Diyos. At dahil dito, nagkaroon sila ng kapayapaan sa gitna ng digmaan.
The finale of Game of Thrones drew a staggering 19.3 million viewers in the U.S. Sunday evening, cementing the fantasy epic's status as the most-watched television series in HBO history.
It was a little unexpected, but really exciting, like nervous excitement. I'm happy how it ended. Yeah, I'm not disappointed at all.
Yeah, I'm happy about the last episode, definitely. I mean, I thought it could have been a little more war built up. Maybe Dany versus the North.
I didn't feel it was Game of Thrones because it was so predictive. And the whole season was like really, you never knew what was going to happen next. But this episode, you always knew what was going to happen next. It was so predictive.
The streaming service said the record number of viewers was across all platforms, HBO, HBO Go, and HBO Now, and exceeded the previous series high of 18.4 million viewers set last week. Season 8 of Game of Thrones is averaging 44.2 million viewers per episode in gross audience, an increase of more than 10 million viewers when compared to Season 7, HBO said in a statement to AFP. In addition, The episode scored the most watched single telecast record on HBO ever, with 13.6 million viewers for the 9 p.m. airing it added. The previous record for the single telecast in HBO history, 13.4 million, was held by the season 4 premiere of The Sopranos in 2002. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles and
We are one with 25.